All right, hello and welcome. Welcome. So excited to have you guys here. Really looking forward to today's session. We're going to be talking all about the Google Maps playbook and really what it takes to get ranked on the map in your service area when people are looking for your services and for what you do. I'd love it if you could just in the chat let me know what type of company you run. Is it a plumbing? Is it HVAC? Is it electrical? Is it a mix of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical? Let me know that. Ashley's coming in from New Jersey. Jerry says they're an HVAC company. Fantastic. I did put together a little workbook on this for you guys because the way the Google Map works is constantly changing, and we're trying to keep the latest SOPs and playbooks of how to get ranked on the map. And so if you want to access this, you can go to plumberseo.net/maps-workbook, maps-workbook, and it's just a Google Doc with a checklist that you can track along with as we go. And so when I think about Google Maps specifically, and I kind of zoom out into the big picture of, where does this fit into your digital marketing strategy in terms of, how do you accelerate the growth of your plumbing, HVAC, electrical, home service company? There's a couple things we have to do, right? We've got to drive leads, we've got to maximize conversion, and then we've got to optimize our results, going to figure out what's working and double down on the things that actually generate tangible, measurable return on investment. And really, when it comes to driving leads, well, there's only a couple places. There's organic, there's paid, and then there's database marketing, which is marketing to that existing database or those past customers or those past prospects. Well, this really fits right here inside the organic strategy, right? And really the things we need to do to make sure we're coming up where the customers are looking and we don't have to pay every time somebody clicks. And I always say that's the foundation of your digital marketing strategy. And so, we think about driving leads. We've got organic, we've got paid, we've got database. Right here in organic, the most important organic listing really is the Google Map and how you're coming up in the Google Map listings and Google Map results. And so I'm just going to ask for your attention. I know it's Friday afternoon if you're on with me live, and it's probably been a busy week. You've probably had a lot of different things going on. I would just like to ask that you turn off your cell phones, close the other tabs, just give this your undivided attention. I will make it quick. I will make it productive. I'll share real-world examples and case studies, and I'll give you a very clear action plan that, if followed, will move you to a much better placement on the Google Maps, which will lead to more leads and more sales. So hopefully we can stick to those rules of engagement. And what I plan to cover on today's workshop is the latest updates in the Google Maps listings. Is it really what does it really take to get ranked on the map listings? The 5 biggest issues or gotchas that we're finding that could be preventing you from ranking on the map. And we're seeing that some of the things you may have done 2 years, 3 years ago could actually be causing your listing not to come up the way that it should. So we'll unpack those 5 things. And then our proven model, our proven 3-step model for getting ranked on the map listings. And so that's the main things I want to cover. I'll also be talking about some of the best tools and systems you can put in place to do some of the heavy lifting for you if you're trying to do this in-house, you're trying to do it on your own. So just give me a yes in the chat if that sounds good. If we can cover that stuff, that would feel like a good use of your time this afternoon. Real quick, for those of you that don't know, my name is Josh Nelson. I'm the founder of Plumbing and HVAC SEO. I'm the author of How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right. We're active in a lot of the industry associations and groups, Nexstar, Service Roundtable, CEO Warrior, and a lot of the different groups and organizations within the trade. But I'd say more important than any of that stuff is that at this point, I've had the opportunity to work with literally hundreds of plumbing, HVAC, electrical, home service companies in some of the most competitive markets across the country, and been able to get a lot of them from not having any placement online and getting very few leads to the point where they're now the dominant players in their market. Many of them generating hundreds and hundreds of leads every single month directly via the internet. Several of them seeing millions of dollars in revenue growth. And so I was doing the math recently. At least 16 or 17 of our clients we've helped grow to a place where they were acquired through public equity or through another company. And so what I'm sharing with you isn't based on theory. It's not based on hype. This is based on real world, what we've seen working with home service companies just like you. And so is it okay with you guys if I share some of those examples and case studies? It's cool to see, hey, here's how it works, but is it okay with you if I share some examples? Like, here's the actual company, here's where they're coming up on the maps, here's how many leads and sales they're getting from that, so that you can connect the dots between like the idea and how it actually plays out in the real world. Yes. Okay. Fantastic. And just so you know, this is what we do, right? At the end of the day, Plumbing HVAC SEO isn't just here to educate. We're not just here to train. We are a full service digital marketing agency, and we've got a team of 47 full-time employees that do this day in and day out, exclusively for plumbing, HVAC, and electrical contractors. We build the websites, we do the SEO, we claim the listings, we build the citations, we implement all the strategies we're sharing on these workshops and these sessions. And so, if at some point you're like, hey, you know what, Josh, this sounds great, I just want you to do it for me, I want to hire you guys to do this, we'd love the opportunity to chat. You can schedule a complimentary evaluation by going to plumberseo.net/schedule. Again, that's just a free meeting. We'll look at your current online rankings. We'll look at your current website and show you, hey, look, this is where there's room for improvement, and this is what it would look like if we were to do something together. All right, Nick already dropped the link to that into the chat. Fantastic. So as we get into the topic of the day, and we're going to be talking all about Google Maps, right, and getting ranked on the Google Map, the first question we have to ask is, do the Google Maps even matter anymore, right? We've all seen the algorithm has changed, right? And now you've got more paid results at the top. You've got local service ads. You've got ChatGPT, Claude, and all these other platforms that are competing for the attention of your customers. And so with all of that happening, does it even matter? Like, is it even worth thinking about the Google Map and how we come up on the Google Map? And I can tell you the latest data, the latest statistics on this tell us, yes, it still matters. It's still important. So if you look at a Google search right now, we were to type in Denver plumber, just wherever your city is, plus plumber, or AC repair, or electrician, the result page looks kind of like this, right? We've got the paid listings, we've got local service ads, and then we've got the map results and the organic results, those results that are just based on organic search results. What the latest statistics tell us, 71% of the clicks go to those map and organic results. 71%. They bypass the paid listings. They bypass local service ads. And more, I guess probably even more relevant, is that 67% click on the first 5 results, which means, obviously the Google Map being what comes up and is most prominent organically, that's where the lion's share of the clicks still go. And so as an example here, if we type in like Evansville plumber or plumber in Evansville, we know that more than 44% of the clicks and the calls and the traffic and the eyeballs are going directly to the map listings. And so one of the companies we work with in Evansville is Bud's Plumbing, right? And you can see, if you zoom in on this, hopefully my screen is large enough you're able to see this, you can see up at the top, you've got Bud's Plumbing and Repair Service. They're coming up in local service ads. So that's a paid play, right? But they're also coming up as the #1 result in the Google Map, right? That map listing where we know the lion's share of those clicks come from. And I just want to drill down for you, because who cares if you rank if it doesn't result in anything, if it doesn't move the needle, if it doesn't get the phones ringing and the trucks running. I want to show you this is our actual data for this client. And let me know if you can see it. Just type yes if you can see my screen well enough that you can see these boxes and these visuals. But we can see here they make about a $16,000 investment in online marketing, right? So that's management fees with us. That's their investment in local service ads. That's their investment in Google ads and retargeting. And we can track 905 leads every single month coming in via the internet, right? And that's coming across various channels, right? 224 from pay-per-click, 251 from local service ads, 263 from Google Maps. So that's specifically what we're talking about today, and 130 from the organic results. If we kind of do the equation on this, we divide that out, that's about $18.33 per lead. Not too bad, right? And you can see a lot of that volume, almost 1/3, maybe a little bit more than 1/3, is coming directly from the Google Map listing, that Google Map ranking. And if we kind of drill down further and we want to look at the actual ROI of all of this and how this all plays out, we can use some some analytics. It's like what percentage of those actually turned into book jobs? What was the value of those book jobs in the field? And so we can see that for this $16,000 investment, that's $257,000 in projected revenue, which is a 15-time return on investment. Now, if we took Google Maps out of that equation, the ROI wouldn't be nearly as good because a lot of money has to go into LSA and into into the Google Ads. And so, yes, getting ranked on the Google Maps still matters. Yes, if you come up for your main keywords in your city for plumber, plumbing services, drain cleaning, water heater installation, water heater repair, that's not just an ego ranking. It's a ranking that actually gets you in front of your customer that has a problem that you can solve, that generates revenue in your business. So then the other question is, like, what about ChatGPT and engines? Just type AI if you've got some concerns in your mind, like, well, aren't people now searching on ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity and these other tools? Alan says AI. Give me 1 minute. Hopefully I'll get my mic back on for you. All right, can you hear me now? Give me a yes if you're hearing me clearly, or just give me a thumbs up towards the screen. Okay, cool. All right, so you've got AEO, GEO. AEO basically at the most basic level is answer engine optimization. So that's Alexa, it's Siri if you've got one of those devices. You know, and there's a play for that. I guess more relevant in today's market though really is GEO, which is generative engine optimization. And that is like coming up on ChatGPT. It's coming up on Gemini. It's coming up on Perplexity. And there's definitely a shift and people looking in those places for that type of stuff. What's cool is if we look at it, and we've got over 176 plumbing, HVAC, electrical contractors, and we're paying close attention to the Google results, the Bing results, and how they're coming up in generative engines. And I still refer to it as SEO, which is search everywhere optimization. We want to come up on Google. We want to come up on ChatGPT. We want to come up on all of these different places. But what's interesting, if we go to ChatGPT right now and we run a search for, like, who are the best plumbers in my city? So this is Laney's, one of the companies we work with in Fargo, North Dakota. You can see here, they actually have a map that shows up in Fargo, and it's referencing Laney's and a couple other companies. And so a lot of the same strategies, and there's nuance, but a lot of the same strategies we're going to share with you in this session, and really the formula that we're going to roll out in terms of getting ranked on the map, apply pretty nicely to getting ranked in these generative engine results as well. I do want to kind of give you a little bit of confidence, though, that Google Maps is still a significant advantage over any of these other platforms. This basically says there's almost 10 million searches per month, and it's still the dominant platform for services like plumber near me, AC repair, etc. ChatGPT, on contrast, for these types of terms only has like 500,000 searches per month. So it's a fractional comparison. If you look at it, 13.7 billion searches per day on Google specifically, 1.1 billion searches per day on ChatGPT. So like if you were to stack this right now and you focus on the 80-20, the 20% of the activities that generate 80% of your results, Google and the Google universe is still where it sits. So Google's still king for these services, but GEO and generative engine platforms are coming on strong. So you want to make sure that you don't just focus on Google exclusively, right? We want to rank there, but we also want to make sure we're planting the seeds and we're getting ourselves in position to rank on whatever generative engine may be coming down the pipe. So, yes, Google map listings are still super important and super relevant. And you want to make sure you're coming up not just in the exact city where you're based. You want to make sure that you set up your website, you set up your service profile so that you can rank. Like if someone's searching directly in your office, they're searching outside your office, they're searching outside your area. And there are tools that we can run and platforms that we can use to help you get a sense of what does the grid look like when somebody searches for your service or searches in your market for the things that you do. And we've got some great tools if you'd like us to run those types of analysis. When you schedule a time, we actually will come up with those keywords for you. We'll run those ranking reports and we'll be able to show you like, here's where you're coming up well. Here's where there's room for improvement. Here's probably the opportunity cost associated with that. And we can talk about if you want our help, how we would be able to help you get that done. And so I'm going to show another example here of like what it really means when we get ranked well on the map. And so one of the companies we work with here in Danbury, Salisbury, Maryland, is Hancock Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. You see that they're coming up really strongly on the Google Map results for exactly that exact term. And you can see here, about a $2,687 investment, predominantly organic in this case. And we're tracking 172 leads directly from the Google Map results. And so, again, I'm going to share these examples as we go because I think it's important to understand that, yes, it matters and it results in leads, which result in sales, which result in revenue growth to keep the trucks running and the business booming. I showed the example of Laney's, and if we were to run a search right now for Fargo AC repair, Fargo plumber, Fargo, North Dakota, HVAC contractors, they're dominant in that market. And we track the data very closely, and you can see here 938 leads tracked directly from their Google Map results. And so I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I do want to show you a preponderance of evidence that when we do get ranked on the map results, it's going to lead to a noticeable increase in call volume. So again, yes, Google Maps drive leads, they drive sales, and they're mission critical for your growth. So what are the biggest challenges, the biggest issues that we're seeing in plumbing, HVAC, home services as it relates to getting ranked on the Google Map? Number one is the way that the results are displayed has changed, right? There was a long time where you had a 7-pack of results, and then you had 3, and then you had the local service ads, shift to the top, and the maps kind of shift down. Google's also started to serve ads in the Google Map results. And you might notice this if you search your city plus whatever the service is, plumber, HC repair, HVAC contractor, etc. There's going to be typically 3 map results and a paid ad. And so, is Google going to be shifting more towards making you pay to play in the map? Potentially, right? That's why you want to pay attention to this stuff. You want to capitalize on the free organic traffic, but we also want to have a paid component to what we're doing. That way we don't miss out on opportunities. Local service ads, as we've talked about, is very, very, dominant in every market inside plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. Local service ads is running. And so, that's taking some of the attention off the Google Map result. And so we want to make sure, if you think about your overall strategy, you're not sleeping on local service ads and getting the Google Guaranteed badge and all of that fun stuff. There's competition from ChatGPT and other generative engines, like taking some of that search volume and potentially taking some of that future opportunity as if people start looking on those platforms instead. And so I'll just say, if you're not on local service ads, I would highly recommend getting that set up. There's a URL in your workbook that shows you how to go there. It's not as easy as setting up an account and then setting a budget, right? There's some nuance to it. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. Our next workshop is going to be on how to win with local service ads in your service area. And just know, as a client, this is something that we can manage and really optimize for you. So you're not sleeping on the local service ads play. So really what we want to do, right? The true objective when it comes to our online marketing strategy is to own the results where people are looking, right? We want to come up in local service ads. We want to come up on the map. We want to come up organically. We want to come up in as many of those results as possible so we have the highest probability of getting the click or getting the call or getting that particular lead. And Google has really cracked down on fake listings. So there was a long time where we could get away with setting up a fake address or using Aunt Bonnie's address and putting that on Google Maps and claiming that listing and ranking maybe 5, 6, 7 different times in 5, 6, 7 different locations. Well, Google wants a real business at a real location, and that's what they want to have coming up in the map listings because they found that creates a better experience for their end user, that person that's searching for a plumber or an electrician or HVAC contractor. And so they've cracked down significantly over the last couple of years. And that's one of those gotchas that we've seen. Like if you created a bunch of spam listings in the past, or maybe a provider that you worked with thought that was a good idea, and so they did that for you, not only probably did those listings start to come offline, but your main listing, like the actual listing that is your main location, probably took a hit from that as well. And so if you're noticing that you're disappearing off maps or you're not coming up even for like things you feel like you should be, this could be a big driver of that. And there's a right way and a wrong way to approach how we optimize and how we get ourselves ranked in the map listings in our service area. And so, what could be hurting your rankings on the map? There's a couple of things that we see again and again and again. And if you're aware of it and you know how to kind of address it, you can solve for it and you can get back where you need to be. And so number one is you need an address in the city that you want to rank. And so if you're in Miami and you want to come up in search for like Miami plumber, Miami drain cleaning, Miami water heater repair, we actually need a physical address, ideally not a UPS store, not a virtual office, but a legitimate commercial address in that location. And to kind of further that point, if your true office, let's just say, and I'm going to use an example that may not make sense, but think about your town. There's the city, but then there's like the sub-cities and the sub-towns. If your location were in Palmetto Bay, the actual office is in Palmetto Bay, which is a little small town outside of Miami, but you want to come up in search for Miami, you're going to struggle. Like if your address is in Palmetto Bay, but you want to rank in Miami, you probably are going to need to get an actual address in the proper city that you're trying to rank for. Otherwise, you're going to have a big challenge, right? And I think if there's an agency you're talking with, or you're trying to like work your way up this battle and saying, hey, I know I'm outside the city, but I want to rank on the map anyways, you're fighting a losing battle. And so you'd be better served to get a proper address, get it properly optimized, get it properly claimed, in order to give yourself a fighting chance to come up in those results. Number two, like talked about this briefly, is did you spam locations? So in the past, if you set up a bunch of fake addresses and got like maybe like a PIN code verification or a phone verification, and you tried to create some citations and you try to create some authority there, and Google caught it, right? They've got all kinds of algorithms that's seeking these situations out. If they caught that and it's attached to your main profile, or they kind of attach that to your actual company, that's going to bring all of your map listings down in the results. And so, there is a process we can take to say, hey, let's go find those fake locations. Let's close them out. Let's report them as closed on Google. Let's get the real location that we really want to come up for in the real city where we have, search volume and we've got population and the right demographics. And let's make sure that we're doubling down on the authority of our true location that we want to rank in. Number three is inconsistencies of your name, address, and phone number. And so, if your company name is Bob's Plumbing, and for some reason you set up your listing as Bob's Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, that inconsistency of how it's listed on Google versus how it's listed on Yelp versus how it's listed on Angie can be a detriment to how you're going to come up in results. You want to have consistency of how your name is referenced, how your address is referenced, the phone number that's being used. When you have that consistency, it passes authority signals back to Google. And so, spending some time to run some searches to see like my company name, how's it coming up? How's Google seeing it? What are the algorithms seeing? And a lot of times, just recognizing that inconsistency exists and then going in and having a concerted effort to clean it up, will make the difference. If you've got all of the other factors working in your favor, that's easier said than done, right? If you don't know how to do that correctly, if you haven't got experience, you can easily chase your tail, like log into 19 different sites, change it in 19 different places, and still have that consistency respawning again and again. Number 4 is if you spammed your company name or category. And so that's where you say, hey, I'm going to add the city to my company name just for the search results. Or I'm going to add some things into the Google categories. Those are all things that seem good in theory, but could actually harm your Google map results and how you come up. And then number 5, and probably like the biggest driver, is not having enough reviews. Like all other things equal, the company that's properly claimed with consistency of their name, address, phone number, and has the most reviews is going to be the most authoritative and earn the right to come up at the top of the search results. And so having a proactive strategy to drive reviews is going to be one of the key things we're going to talk about throughout the course of this. But if you're looking at your rankings and you're saying, man, like why don't I come up? And your 3 closest competitors have hundreds of reviews and you've only got dozens of reviews, that's going to be a big reason you're not going to rank in the map results the way you might feel that you should. And so, that's the biggest things we're seeing, that the top 5 things that could be like the gotchas preventing you from ranking in the search results. The other thing I'm going to say is there's a lot of different ways that people search on Google for your services, right? And it's not just as simple as thinking, well, if they type in plumber or plumbing, or if they type in, plumber near me, there's a lot of different things they could type, right? They might type in drain cleaning or water heater repair, hydrojetting, or, sump pump repair if you're a plumbing company. And you really want to recognize that the Google results spawns for all of these different keyword permutations. And you want to think about how you're coming up for those different keywords in order to truly maximize the amount of leads that you can generate from your map results. And so we do have a list of these keywords. If you go to plumberseo.net/plumbing-keywords, and I think I've linked it in your workbooks as well, you can get that list. And what I would encourage you to do is really like figure out how you're coming up on the map and in the organic results for all of the different keywords that are relevant to the services you provide in the cities that you operate in. And so I've got that list for you for plumbing. We've also got a list like that for you for AC repair and electrical. And if you go to plumberseo.net/keyword-list, you can get it. What I can tell you though is most of the plumbing, HVAC, home service companies that I've worked with over the years that we give this list to, they're like, hey, cool, I'm glad I have the list. What do I do next, right? And then maybe they try and figure out how to combine the keywords, and then they try and run a couple searches, and it's just tedious. Like this is a tedious, obnoxious task. And so if you'd like, one thing we can do is run a complete ranking analysis for you, completely free of charge. And so what that includes is we will identify what are your actual services, what are the keywords that have commercial intent, what are the top 10 cities that you operate in, and we've got tools that can help us quickly and easily analyze and say, okay, here's where your company's coming up on Google, on Bing, on these generative engines. And so if you'd like for us to run that analysis for you, you can just go to plumberseo.net/schedule and we'll run that analysis. We'll give you the keyword list. Even if we don't do business together, you'll have a very clear list of the most important keywords and a very clear understanding of where you're coming up in the search results today. So hopefully that is a useful thing for you if you're serious about getting dialed in on your rankings, and hopefully that's helpful. So let's get into the formula, right? And we've tested this, we've looked at it a million different ways, and we've really drilled down to a couple key things that you can do from an optimization perspective to come up well in the search results. And so it really boils down to number one, claiming and optimizing your Google profile, right? And you do that at Google in a business profile, and there you can claim your listing, you can add pictures, you can add descriptions. I'll talk about some of the details there, but we want to properly claim and optimize that listing. From there, we want to build up our citations. And so all other things being equal, Google wants to serve the company that is the most legit for their results. And so one of the things we can do to tell Google that we're legit is be referenced in a lot of different places online. And there's literally hundreds of online directory sites that reference company's name, address, phone numbers. And so if we can get ourselves added in those directories with consistency of our name, address, and phone number, that's a vote of confidence. That's a vote that this is a legitimate company that potentially should come up in search results. And then number three is we've got to build up our online reviews, right? All other things being equal, the companies that have the most reviews that are legit, that are real reviews from real customers in your true service area, is going to win the day in terms of how you come up in the search results. And so, those are the things. Claim and optimize the listing, build up your online citations, and then drive a lot of verified reviews to your Google profile. And then in addition to that, we want to make sure that we've got proper on-page optimization. So the website is set up in a very specific way that tells Google the services you provide, the area that you service, that you're a quality contractor. And when you get all of those four components dialed in, that's how you're able to dominate the Google map results for a lot of different keywords and get literally hundreds and hundreds of inbound phone calls and inquiries per month. And I'll show more examples of that in the real world, but this is really the formula. This is the shortcut. And so a couple things you can do to build up that, that trust profile in Google's eyes. Number one is brand authority, right? Like actually having your name, your logo, your company brand recognized as the go-to provider in your service area. And there's lots of things you can do to build up that brand authority. Verification, the way you verify your listing oftentimes is an authority driver. And so if you verified way back in the day with a PIN code, and this is how you used to do it, you would go onto Google and you'd say, this is my company, and they would mail a postcard to your address. And then a couple of days later, somebody at the office would get the postcard and you'd log back into Google and you type that PIN code. That is a low level of authority in terms of your verification method. And so now you can verify via phone, you can verify via video, you can verify in a variety of different ways. If you're not ranking, and maybe you were in the past, it might be a good idea to re-verify and use video verification, where you've got a video of yourself walking through the office, a video of yourself showing that there's a locked key on the front door, and some signage proving that you literally have a location where you say you do. And there are some things you can do, even if it's not a dedicated office, maybe it's a virtual office or it's shared with other companies. There's some things you can do to get your video verification to pass muster, to get verified, and to come up well in the map results. So double verification is good. Video verification live with the rep is powerful. Live recorded video, also a solid option. Postcard is the lowest level of verification. Not even available currently, but if you did this 2 years, 3 years, 5 years ago, and that was the method used for verification, and you're not ranking, it's worth it to re-verify the listing in a lot of cases, just for the sake of passing that authority. Okay. The other thing that really drives authority in Google's eyes is your reviews, right? And when it comes to reviews, it's not just the total number of reviews that you have, because in any moment in time, I could pull up your city, and your service, your city plumber, your city AC repair, your city, whatever the term is. And there's going to be a top 3 result that comes up, the top 3 companies. And we're looking at, are they properly optimized? Do they have, Q&As on their profile? Do they have lots of citations with consistency? And who has the most reviews. And that snapshot of time will show, this company's got 200 reviews, this one's got 176, this one's got 512, right? And in a snapshot, that makes sense. Okay, we got some details here, but the other really important component is review velocity. Well, how recent are those reviews? Did they just get a massive drop of reviews, or is there a consistent, set of reviews coming in? What's the overall review sentiment? Like if you're getting all 1-star reviews and 2-star reviews, that's not going to bode well for you in terms of the authority, which is going to drive your rankings on the Google Maps. Recently unsuspended. So if you were suspended or filtered, there's like terminology for this. Oftentimes when you come unsuspended because you re-verify or because you like validate the address that was incorrect in some way, that can really be a good thing to move you back up in the search results. And so a lot of times just thinking I'm going to set it and forget it and kind of sit on my hands hoping my ranking comes back is not a great play, right? If you're not coming up, you want to do something to re-trigger the algorithm to get yourself back up. Now, you want to be careful with that. If you are ranking right now in the top 3, that's not the time to go change an address or to go re-verify a listing. Only do these things if you're not coming up in the search results, right? Because it's, you don't want to displace a solid ranking listing on the Google Maps. Believe it or not, your back-end engagement on the search engines are a key driver. So are you logging in to the Google business profile, you or somebody on the team? Are you answering questions? Are you responding to reviews? Are you uploading images? Are you loading offers? That back-end engagement is important. So whether that's a service like ours, like our company, we can do that for you, right? We can claim the listing correctly. We can be logging in and showing that activity. But if you're doing it in-house, then you want somebody that, knows, like, we didn't just set the profile up and never look at it again. Like, we have to be we have to be engaging on the back end. Completeness of your profile. So you can load a lot of details into your Google business listing. You can load pictures, you can answer questions, you can have a detailed description. There's lots of categories you can select, and not just verifying and leaving it with your name, address, phone number, and that's it. Like we want to give Google as many details, as many assets, as much context about your company, about your services, about your service area to improve our probability of coming up in the map results. And the other really critical factor in terms of authority outside of your reviews, outside of your citations, is your links and the links back to your website and the links back to your map listing. And a lot of times when I say links, it feels like this abstract, complicated concept. And so I just want to share some very tactical examples of what you could do to build links, from other properties to your website or to your map listing that will improve your rankings. And so one really cool thing that you can do that we found that works well is to do local sports sponsorships. And so your local high school or your local non-for-profit that has a baseball team, a softball team, they have typically opportunities where you can sponsor that. And in the past, that was like maybe you paid for the t-shirt and you had a logo on the t-shirt, or maybe they had a big banner on the fence and you got a little logo on there. Well, what you want to look for when you're saying, hey, look, I'm willing to sponsor this local community event is, if they've got a local website that has any level of indexation, that has any level of authority, and you ask for them to link to you from that website, that's a low cost, high quality, high relevant link that you can get. And, you couldn't just reach out to the organization, hey, can I send you, $50 and you put a link on the website. It's not as simple as that. But, doing this type of sponsorship is a backdoor play that tends to work pretty well, especially when, you're not coming up. You've already got your profile listed. You've got it verified. You've kind of fleshed it out as far as you can. You've got lots of good online reviews. You feel like your website is dialed in, but you're still not coming up. These are some things you can do to give yourself a little bit of additional juice to come up in those results. Host local community events. So this is doing like meetups and then making a little bit of stink about it on those sites. Create local resources page. so that you could say, hey, here's the companies that we do business with that we recommend on your website. So you could say, and if you're a plumbing company and you refer out to an HVAC company, or you refer out to a damage restoration company, or you've got a kitchen remodeling company, or a renovation provider that you recommend, you can have a section on your website that links out to those local companies. And then, of course, you would ask them to do the same where they're linking back to you. Simple thing you can do that's a win-win. It's a win for them. It's a win for you. It's a win for your customer. And it builds that authority profile for your rankings. School sponsorships, especially if you're doing trade school type things and maybe giving people's apprenticeships, that's a great place to get those trade schools to link to you, and creating content for those trade schools. So if you're actively involved in your local chamber of commerce, your local trade school, trade organization, offer to create content, like maybe a case study of a student that came in and got trained and how much money they're making in the trade. Content about how much opportunity there is to make good money in the trades. You create that content, you have it published on those sites, and that builds authority back to you. Even if they're not massively high domain rank sites, because it's local, because it's relevant, that's going to pass really good authority back to your organization. There are lots of other different plays, but I think those are the most specific and the most tactical things that you can do that can really move the needle. Going to the fundamentals, right? The top three things that you want to make sure that you do. Number one is optimize your listing. And I think get a company that knows what they're doing, that knows the ins and the outs and the little secret tricks that you can put in place to really optimize your listing to give yourself that competitive advantage. But I also think as the owner, your Google map listing is an asset. It's a very valuable asset, an important asset to your company. And so you want to make sure that you've got access to that profile. So like either have them set you up as the owner or give you the username and password so that you can also log in and you can check the basic settings, check the basic details. And I'm not going to bore you to death. This is all listed in your workbook with like a little step-by-step instructional, but you want to claim that listing. You want to make sure that your company name is listed correctly, that you've really thought intelligently about what the address is and how it's going to be referenced on Google and those other online sites, and make sure that's listed in that way. Be intentional about the categories that you select. And there's a handful of categories relevant to plumbing, a handful relevant to HVAC, a handful relevant to electrical. You want to make sure that you've selected those categories, that you've got a local area code number on the website. Don't put an 800 number here. You want the local number because this is a local business and we're trying to come up on the local map. Upload photos. Don't just have your logo. Just like when you're building out your website, we know that people want to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so use the opportunity to have a picture of yourself, have a picture of your technicians, have a picture of the team. Authentic, real images, ideally taken from a phone, tend to carry more authority. They tend to carry more weight. List your hours of operation and the services that you provide. You've got room for a detailed description. Leverage that. Get your keywords, but write it in a way that's persuasive to the customer that's going to click on your listing. Make sure that you add photos. Make sure that you've verified your listing correctly, and you might want to do phone verification. Upload those photos, the ones that you've got on your website, ideally the personality-based photos. You've got access to click into the insights and see how many people are clicking on your listing, how many people are asking for address, how many people are getting driving directions back to the location. This gives you some really interesting insights on how it works. But outside of that, you want to be leveraging the profile. Like, don't just set it and forget it. A couple things that you want to be doing on an ongoing basis with your map listing. Upload new photos on a consistent basis. Upload that new job that you did. Upload the picture of that award that you won. Upload that picture of you guys, doing something good in the community. Upload photos. Leverage Google Posts. You still have the opportunity to load up posts about what's going on and special offers. And then there's two things that you definitely want to do in your Google Map that I see so many home service companies ignore. Number one is answer reviews. right? If we're focused on creating a world-class experience, we're focused on generating positive reviews from our customers, then when someone does write a review, we should acknowledge that. And we should follow up and say, hey, thanks so much. Really appreciate your business. Thanks so much for choosing our company. We know you have other options. And that is just a good way of doing business, right? It shows that you care, and it kind of communicates to that customer that was happy, but it also passes signals to Google that you're active, that you're paying attention, that you care about your customers, which is really important. And also, if it's a negative review, which happens from time to time, regardless of how good you are, you want to respond to those reviews as well, and not in a confrontational way, but just acknowledge the review, apologize if they had a bad experience, and do whatever you can to try and work that out. But publicly acknowledge it and use that as an opportunity to show that you're the kind of company that steps up when something bad happens within your organization. So that's one of those extra things you want to be doing on an ongoing basis. It's really important. The other is to answer questions. And this is one of those ninja things that you can do within your Google listing that will pass more context about what you do as an organization. And so the easy thing to do would be to think about the most frequently asked questions that people are asking and actually seed those questions yourself and then answer those questions on your own profile. That's a great thing to do, but also be looking to see, are there questions coming up that you can answer? You don't want to leave questions on your Google profile unaddressed. And so those are some very specific things we can do. Number one, to properly claim and optimize your listing. More details in your workbook on that. And again, if this isn't what you do every day and this isn't your area of expertise, get with a company like ours. We literally have a team that exclusively claims and optimizes these listings so that they're set up to the highest level possible. Number two is we want consistency of the name, address, and phone number. And so that's literally having yourself listed on sites like Yelp and Angie's List and City Search and all of those little websites. The key though, as you do that, is to make sure that you've got the same name, the same phone number, and a consistent address listed in the exact same way. This passes a lot of authority back to the search engines. Really important is to recognize there's these individual listings and these individual sites across the internet, but then there's also data aggregators. And the smaller sites pull their data from 4 key sources. They pull from Factual, from Axiom, from Infogroup, and from Newstar. And those sites, those 4 data aggregators, literally feed thousands and thousands of online directories. And so where I see a lot of people get stuck is they're like, okay, I'm going to update my listings. And they look and they say, well, there's lots of inconsistency. What do I do? And so they start to go to these individual sites and do password resets and change the address and hit save. And they circle back a month, 2 months later, and it's showing the wrong information again. And they've got now 2 listings, and it drives them nuts. And what they don't understand is that it's not just those independent sites that you have to go to. You have to go to the source, which are these data aggregators, and make sure that you've invested in owning those profiles with the right name, address, and phone number. And when you've got those data aggregators combined with a properly claimed and optimized Google business, Google map listing, that's how you can really control the consistency of your name, address, phone number. And so, be willing to invest a little bit, or make sure you're working with a company that's willing to invest a little bit to properly control that online profile for your organization off of Google as well. And there's some great platforms and some great tools that you can use to kind of scan your consistency and to update those listings. Probably the most common, the most known would be Yext, right? Yext is the main online profile that has direct feeds into most of the citation sources and citation listings. But there's other tools that are very good that are also a little bit more manual, like Bright Local and Whitespark and Moz and Advice Local. My suggestion is claim your Google business profile, add yourself to the data aggregators, and then use one of the syndication tools like Yext to get the top tier listings, and then do manual research to find local under the radar directory sites like local, business directory. Like if you're in Dallas, you type in Dallas business directory and there's going to be like random sites that don't even hit these engines. And then also industry specific. So if you're plumbing, you type in like plumbing business directory, plumbing listings, and we've done a lot of research, obviously now working with hundreds of plumbing HVAC companies, where we've already identified those really niche directories that we can add ourselves to, in addition to Yext, in addition to the data aggregators, which gives us a little bit of a competitive advantage in terms of the number of citations and the amount of authority and juice we can pass back to your listing. And so if you're curious about if there's inconsistency or if there's citations that haven't been claimed, we do have a free resource at plumberseo.net/scan that you can type in your company name and your address, and it will show you like, here's where you've got inconsistencies of the name, address, and phone number. Or you can always just go to plumberseo.net/schedule, and we'll manually run all of those analysis for you before we meet and be able to show you like, here's the keywords, here's how you're coming up, here's why you're not coming up, here's the inconsistency of the citations or the disparity between you and your next competitor in terms of citations or reviews. And so either of those two options will give you more clarity on next actions and how to really action this going forward. And so that's plumberseo.net/scan if you want to run that free analysis. Okay. Key strategy number 3, I'm just going to kind of hop to this if I can get to it. Key strategy number 3 is online reviews, right? Assuming you've got a properly claimed listing, you've got all your citations, you've got everything really humming in the right direction. All other things being equal, the companies that have the most reviews are the ones that tend to rank best. And so you want to have a proactive review acquisition strategy where you've gone to the past customers, and this is something we do right out of the gates if you become a client, is we're going to get your database of past customers, and we're going to send them a review request. And we're going to do what we call a review blitz, where we get a set of brand new reviews on your Google profile and some of your other online directories. But then we want to put a process in place where after every service call, a message goes out via email and SMS. Hey, thanks for your business. Would love it if you'd take a second to write us a review, and make it really easy for them to take the next step. And the goal, obviously, is to create a great experience and to plant the seed with the customer. Hey, we really appreciate your business. We need your feedback. We'd love it if you'd write us a review. And then incentivize that behavior in your technicians. So your technicians know that they're being graded on this. They know that they're going to be recognized on this. And it's just part of how you operate as an organization. One great strategy that we found, that really moved the needle in terms of the number of reviews that our average client gets after every service call, is to leverage automation. So, if you think about our evolution of how we've rolled this out over the years, at first it was like, hey, let's set up a little dashboard where the customer can type in their name and the name of the customer and their cell phone number and email, and it sends an email or text message. And that only worked to a certain level. And then we started implementing Nearby Now, which is a platform where they check in the field, and that gives geo-modified data, which is great for our SEO, but then it also sends an email and a text message after the job. But it required a technician to be paying attention, right? And a technician to check in and to key all the buttons. And we found that there was a low adoption, right? It was like the technicians didn't want to do it, and some of them did, some of them didn't. And what we do today is we make sure that there's an automation that's happening where after every service call, once the job is closed in Service Titan or Field Edge or House Call Pro, that automates check-in, it automates a review request, and it's happening after every service call. When we started getting those automations installed, that's where we started to see a massive increase in the number of reviews, which made a big difference in the rankings online. And so there's tons of platforms for this, like whether you're using PulseSam or BirdEye or Customer Lobby or our platform Conversion Amp. Let's just make sure we're using automation so that after every service call, we're improving the probability of getting those online reviews. And so that is the key thing there. Now, those are really the key drivers. Claim the listing, get your citation profile in order, generate online reviews on a consistent basis, and then make sure that your website is properly optimized, where you're clearly telling Google, this is what we do. this is the service area that we serve. And there's a lot of nuance to that in terms of on-page optimization, off-page optimization. I have a full hour and a half long session on that we did last month. And so feel free to go in and drill down on that if you'd like, or just type SEO wherever you happen to be watching this, and that'll be a prompt for us to find the recording of that and send it to you. But the way you set up your website and the way you structure the content on the website will really drive how well you come up in the maps as well, right? It kind of really goes hand in hand. And so I wanted to show an example of this. So this is the Meridian company, the company we work with in East Lansing, Michigan. And if we go on Google and we type in like East Lansing plumber, East Lansing drain cleaning, East Lansing HVAC repair, they come up really, really strong. I just wanted to show you some of the data here. So $23,000 investment in online marketing. That's management fees, local service ads, Google ads. You can see here 753 leads tracked, which if you divide that out, comes out to an average of about $31.66 per lead. I do want you to see though that the Google Maps here is a key driver of that outcome. You can see there are 307 inbound leads. And if we kind of do the math, that's over $183,000 in revenue and over a 7-time return on investment that they get by having this dialed in, by having this fully implemented and really structured well in their company. I could show a lot of other examples. I don't want to beat a dead horse. This is the Ira Hansen company, which is based in Sparks, Nevada and Reno, Nevada. And if we go to Google and we search like Sparks, Nevada plumber, drain cleaning, water heater repair, Reno, this one is kind of an outlier here. You can see, I'm not going to tell you what they spend with us, but 640 Google Map listing calls every single month, and over 120 time return on their investment. I'll let you do the math on kind of what that means. But, I could tell you there's an approach that works. You have to do it right. And there's very specific things, even though it's, not complicated, doing it the right way will make the difference in terms of how you come up on the Google map in your search area. And so I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. That's the formula. That's the key approach. I've showed you examples of companies that we've put this in place for. I've showed you the step-by-step instructions on how to do it. I've given you the workbook. So hopefully this gives you enough details and enough information to say, okay, I'm ready to hit the ground running. I know how to go out and get my Google Map rankings better. I've got this checklist for you guys. And again, I would encourage you, just run yourself through the paces. Make sure that you haven't missed anything in terms of on-page, Google Business Profile, ongoing content, passing the right signals through schema, through on-page optimization, through content structuring, title tags, H1 tags, meta descriptions. But the easiest, most practical next step would be let's do an analysis, right? We do this day in and day out. Let us pull up your website, pull up your Google Map listing, show you like where you're coming up, where there's room for improvement, and give you all the data so that you can decide, hey, look, I need some help with this. Or maybe we'll just tell you, hey, look, you're in good hands, which happens from time to time. So if you'd like to take us up on that, and you'd like some additional help, implementing these strategies, improving your Google Map listings, improving the amount of leads and sales that you generate online, you can do that by going to plumberseo.net/schedule. And again, like this isn't going to be a sales page. It's literally, we're going to run those keywords. We're going to show you where you're coming up. We're going to do an analysis of your map listing. We're going to do an analysis of your citations. We're going to do analysis of your on-page optimization for your website. And we can have a conversation based on the data, whether there's room for improvement and whether we can help you take things to the next level. So that's the scoop. Go to plumberseo.net/schedule to schedule a time. If you have any questions, whether you're on live or maybe you're on after the fact, feel free to drop those into the comments, or you can reach out to us if you happen to be listening to this at 866-610-4647, or feel free to send me a message anytime, josh@plumberseo.net. All right, I'm not seeing any questions, so I will just say thanks for participating today. Thanks for logging in on a Friday. Excited to see you guys implement this and generate better results with your Google Maps, and we're going to wrap it up there. Thanks, everybody.